That's it for me.
All right, cool. Let's jump into what do we got? The Eyes of Tammy
Just
Faye.
jump into the eyes of Tammy
Jump
Faye.
into her eyes.
Yeah.
Tammy Faye's eyes.
So I just want
So
to say
this is
off the first off, do you ever get used to the makeup watching this movie? Because the makeup was very off-putting to me watching the trailer.
certain parts of the movie, I think
Yeah.
it kind of fades away and
Yeah.
definitely. But then there are certain scenes where like I think it's distracting and some of it's really good and some of it's like it's just distracting and
Yeah.
you can't, or at least I'll speak for myself. I couldn't really look past it.
Yeah.
Uh, as a whole, though, I don't think it's an issue. I mean, like I think it's kind of playing up the a character in real life who was kind of known for this kind of stuff and looked like this. Maybe not the
The
makeup, the
prosthetics,
that
by the way, I'm talking
the
about. I should have
prosthetics.
been
Yeah,
clear
yeah,
that I
yeah.
meant the prosthetics, not
The
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 makeup.
make the prosthetics is what we're just specifically trying to hit. But I mean, I think at some points like it kind of is possibly played up intentionally
Mm.
in certain scenes, like
Yeah.
in some of the sequences where they're like filming the show and things like that. It's a little jarring or distracting, whichever. What did you think of that, Ronald? Just that specifically, since John asked before we get into the movie.
Um, I remember watching Tammy Faye. I'm gonna say unfortunately, only because of the volume of Tammy Faye that we watched. My grandma's from South Carolina, church channel, just like all day, 300 Club and Tammy Faye and Joel
700
Osteen,
Club.
700 Club. Did I
I
say
think they watched
300
a
Club?
different one. It was
Yeah,
400
300
off.
Club. 300
This,
Club.
the discount version.
700 Club and a 300 Club. Uh, yeah, but it was very much like she looked like that. But
Yeah.
obviously, the prosthetic to make her face look like Tammy Faye
Yeah,
is. It's not just her though; it's her husband as well. Like there's, it's like
They're all, yeah, they both have kind of odd prosthetics
it's like a
on.
biopic choice, right? Are you going to put
it.
rubber on their face to make them look more like the person, or are you just going to let acting do its job? You know?
Do you remember College
Yes.
Humor? College Humor when like there was this sweet spot where there was like they were making like original things.
Yeah,
I feel like the tone of the makeup and some of the acting felt like some of that stuff that was coming out around that time where they were like recruiting actual comedic actors to do stuff. There's
Mhm.
something about the tone of the makeup combined with the tone of the movie that just. What'd you think about the movie in general, Steve? Like, just
I really like the movie personally.
yeah,
I really like Michael Showalter as a director, and this is his another effort from him. And we talk about it all the time in the podcast. I love Jessica Chastain,
Yeah,
and I think
same.
it's one of her best performances. I think she is like all in on this, total commitment, off the wall character. She does all she sings all the songs like that,
so good by the
that are in the movie.
way.
Yeah, like pretty comparable. But I mean, I just think that for a biopic, admittedly, like, and I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I don't really have much of a. I've never really had much exposure to really a lot of religion in general, and especially not like the televangelists, like these characters. Like I know the names, and I saw the doc that this is based on that came out a while back.
Mhm.
But that's kind of been my exposure to it. So kind of seeing this feature version of that doc, and knowing that like one of my favorite actresses is playing that character, that's really what pulled me to it. But I just a wild story, and I mean, it's just like another example of the crazy. I don't know, man. Just like how crazy the business of religion is
Yes.
in America, in the world, but in America specifically, seeing the ins and outs of the creation and the kind of like the growth of these television networks and the idea of like how this money is used and abused, and you know these like protections that they have, financially from the government, all that stuff, like where it falls in its place in the movie, I think is really interesting. And again, gives me perspective that I didn't have. But as a movie itself, I found it really entertaining. I thought the pacing was really good. I think they're both really good together. I would say if anything's a little more distracting than her kind of makeup or prosthetics, I thought Andrew Garfield was a little more, to me, distracting. But I thought he was good in the movie though.
Yeah.
Really, all the performances, like Vincent D'Onofrio pops up in a role as Jerry Falwell, and I thought he was really good. I don't know. It's one of those kind of like biopics that just coasted for me. Like I feel like it just played really, really quick, really efficient, and it had that balance of there's definitely humor, some dark humor, some drama, and just the performance that Chastain kind of puts out is really the takeaway. The best part of the movie is for sure her, and I don't know. I was really entertained by it. I liked it quite a bit actually.
I mean, it looks like a lot of fun.
What about
it
you?
It looks kind of wild, so I'm glad to hear that it
is
actually
it
sort
is
of fun.
It's really wild. The thing about this movie is like, the one thing that gets me is the tone of it. Like, it doesn't feel like a biopic that I've seen before. For real, like, it feels so heightened. It feels heightened. But in the end, you feel everything that she's going through. And that's what got me. At first, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. But you're feeling everything that Tammy Faye's going through. You feel everything. You feel all the emotions that are kind of put on the screen. And in the end, I was rooting for there's something about women who are in these positions that are so fucking against them and making it work on their terms. Like, seeing her do that. And I remember like how big she was. I remember how big she was and the impact. I didn't know that about the 700 Club. I didn't know that was previously their show.
Yeah.
So the 700 Club used to be Tammy Faye and her husband's show. Well, actually, primarily her husband's show that was taken over. I did not know that. It taught me some cool things. Like,
Right.
But overall, yeah. In the end, you will, if you, for anybody that wants to see it, when you first get into it, the tone can be a little jarring at first. But if you relax and just ride it out, it's worth the experience. It's one of the better biopics that I've seen. It felt like, in the end, I'm like, God, she was an amazing woman who fought for what she wanted, who really tried to make a place in the world. And I love stories like that, especially in America. I love
Did you
it.
ever see that documentary that was actually called The Eyes of Tammy Faye?
No, I never saw the documentary, man.
I mean, I was trying to think of what the name of that was, and I had to look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, that was called. I thought it was The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Right.
But like,
no,
it was very sympathetic in terms of its portrayal of her,
Yeah.
and she had become kind of a tabloid joke persona before that, and the sort of person you'd see clips of on Talk Soup and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And so I remember her feeling, if not redeemed by that movie, but feeling like, oh yeah, she's got something to her. There's something like, I don't know. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking of like pop cultural figures like Richard Simmons or people like that who you can tell there's trouble, but there's something really inspiring, and there's also something about them that there's something pure that people latch onto about certain people, and the fact that she was connected to all this unsavory stuff and kind of a joke. So I kind of think this. I mean, when you say what type of biopic it is, it makes sense that it would be one of those where you can have a little bit of humor because the bad things that happen are only so bad. I mean, we're not talking about like full on, like the crime that happens is scandalous, but not.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least I don't know of any like violent or abusive crime that goes on. But maybe Jim was abusive for her. I don't know if that's part of the story. But even something like I, Tonya, was that the name of that? I, Tonya? Yeah.
Yeah.
That got really dark. Something like this feels like it can stay a little bit on the lighter side of something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Is it lighter than I, Tonya, or is it similar to I, Tonya?
It gets really dark, man. But it primarily is about her relationship with her mom that gets really dark.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not gonna give anything away, but yeah, it's not violent, but it is violent verbally, and it does get kind of weird, like just seeing a person making their way in a space where you really weren't supposed to. Somebody didn't have those expectations for you. Mm-hmm. Tammy Faye is an interesting figure. I remember her being on that reality TV show, and that's when her life kind of took like that was talk soup height, but she was it was like Vern Troyer and a
Oh, the
couple other
Surreal Life,
the
where they're
Surreal
all
Life,
living in a
yeah.
house together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I can't
that
believe we
time.
watched probably every episode of that.
Yeah. So that
Flavor
time
Flav
was
was
when I
on one
remember.
time.
Yeah, yeah. The rotating characters. And
Sherman
that's
Helmsley, wasn't he on?
Sherman, yes. Sherman Helmsley. And there was like this Tammy Faye really at the height of parody at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember
Right.
seeing clips of her and being like, she seems like a really nice person. Like I don't understand why. Anyway, it was a solid biopic, man. I'd suggest
Yeah. I
anybody
would,
watch it.
I would definitely recommend it if
I
it's
can. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I tried to see it. We need to one day figure out what's up with my my access to these screeners, because it's that one particular screener app.
yeah.
That's a little
Yeah.
inside baseball though for your listeners. But I should have seen this movie too.
Yeah.
But this is a recommend. Then sounds like
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
would definitely, and again, like I think there's I don't know what's coming down the pike in terms of performances, but I wouldn't be shocked if her name kind of stays around. You know, if this movie has any kind of presence or push, like they could definitely make a push for her for some sort of awards consideration. I think
Yeah.
the reel for her for this movie is pretty big in terms of what they could push her for. But I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a recommend for me.
Yeah, man.
Well, I do love Jessica Chastain, so I'm totally willing to believe she does something.
She's so good.
She does something amazing. I am a little opposed to putting rubber on people's faces when it makes them look kind of freakish, but
Yeah.
you know, I believe that she can act her way through that stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah, she
Definitely.
did.
Definitely. All right.